When looking at genetic lineage, we're looking at tracing the inherited characteristic back over many generations. Before we can work with a pedigree, we need to know what the symbols all mean, or the shapes. So squares are representing male and circles represent female. If they are unshaded, then the person is unaffected with the disorder, and if they're shaded, then the person is affected. So in this case, we can name this disorder because we're working with cystic fibrosis in humans. If the shapes are joined together, it's showing that they are partners, like mom and dad, and the vertical lines coming down from them show offspring. So in the case of number 1 and 2, they only have one offspring, which is number 3. Right, let's have a look at the question. The question says that cystic fibrosis is caused by a recessive allele, and that we need to use capital C for the dominant allele and small c for the recessive allele. 1.1 says give the 2 phenotypes of each of the people. So number 1 is a circle and therefore female. It is shaded and therefore she has cystic fibrosis. Number 2 is square, so that is a male, and it is unshaded, so he does not have cystic fibrosis. Number 5 will be a male. It's shaded, so he has cystic fibrosis. And number 11, a circle, therefore female. It is unshaded, so she does not have cystic fibrosis. Number 2 says give the genotype of each of the following. So if we have a look at all the shaded shapes, they will all have the genotype small c, because that phenotype can only be seen with recessive alleles. So let's have a look at number 2. Number 2 is unaffected, but we don't know whether it is the homozygous condition or the heterozygous condition. So number 2 could be either. Number 3 is unaffected, so definitely has a dominant allele, and that would be from dad. Mom only has a recessive allele to give, so number 3 is big C, small c. Number 5 we said was affected, so it's homozygous recessives. And then number 16 is unaffected. So if we look at the father, dad is unaffected, but we don't know whether dad is homozygous or heterozygous for the condition. Either way, the dominant allele of number 16 comes from dad, and mom gives number 16 the recessive allele, as that's all she has to give. Right, number 3 says how many grandchildren do 1 and 2 have? So 1 and 2 are the initial parents, the P1, and they have offspring, F1, which then become the P2. The P2 then give rise to this row, which are the grandchildren. So in this case there is 1, 2, 3 grandchildren, and they are numbers 5, 7 and 10.